Chancellor.
Yes, sir.
You know, my background is supermarkets, so I have to say, why would I talk about supermarkets and talk about, universities? But I've got 10 supermarkets doing very well in this one company. We open up another one, and that supermarket is really hurting. It's drawing down the other 10. So what ends up happening, in order to make up for the loss, what I have to do in the other supermarkets is raise prices. So when I raise prices, I start losing sales, and now I'm going to turn it over into the state system. If I have one or two that are really hurting, and that I've got to take dollars out of the other and put into those schools, and in some cases raise tuitions in the other schools. At some point, what's going to happen? We're going to have a hard time bringing students into those schools. And so, are you looking at some of these schools? Like I saw one here, 700 students. The graduating class in my daughter's high school was 700. I just can't for the life of me figure how in the world that school is going to be able to survive. And I know if I was that school was in my area, I'd probably be saying the same thing. You know, I just want you to know, honestly.
Yes,
you can answer that.
You have put your finger on the hardest part of what we're about to engage in, which is not the dollars and cents or enrollments or academic programs, but it is the emotionalism, the history, and the politics surrounding any kind of a significant change at a university. And you are right. We run the gambit in our 14. We have one university that is no longer able to meet its own operational obligations because of declining enrollment, and we are subsidizing that university's operation with money from the other 13. That's the other myth. The system doesn't have any operational budgets beyond that which we use to operate our system offices. When we say the system money, that is the money that you appropriate to the state university system that is distributed through an allocation formula to those 14 state universities. And to subsidize the first, and then I'll be specific about what I mean by first, we allocate that money out through a very specific formula that has to do with not only enrollment, but has to do with a centralized hub that came through the new allocation formula that was created that makes certain that every university receives a minimum of $8.1 million to operate central services that every university needs to have, and then adds enrollment and other factors to the mix. So once that money is distributed, it is swept on a monthly basis, put into an interest-bearing account to try to generate a little extra money for the system before it is redistributed with a little extra hopefully attached to it. That is the account from which we draw to subsidize the first university. For the first time in the history of our system, it is one university, and we are headed toward more. We have right now universities that are eating through their operational reserves and are going to run out of operational money within the next year to 2 years. And the bigger question than the one we're already facing is, can a system survive by doubling or tripling down on the same concept of taking money from other universities to subsidize others without throwing other universities? A good example that I use is Lock Haven University. I don't know if anybody up there serves the Lock Haven area, but it's a smaller university, but they have a very, very strong business model. But they will tell you, they are working on the thinnest of margins. A good wind would blow them over. And by virtue of that fact, if you go to them repeatedly and say, we're going to take more of your money and pass it on to others, they now get in line because they're forced to with the universities who may be in line. And that's what this board has recognized, and recognized we cannot continue to do that. As great as all these universities are and their long illustrious histories, it won't work anymore. It will break down and implode on itself. That's why this massive reorganizational look that we're going to have.
Thank you.